Imagine 1520, a dark night in Tenochtitlan. The Spanish are fleeing, led by Hernán Cortés. They thought they would win, but now they run to save their lives. The Aztecs push them out. It's La Noche Triste, the night of sadness. Cortés lost many men and lots of treasure. It was a moment of shock and loss.
Yet, this defeat was not the end. Cortés and his men were tough. Over time, they turned this loss into victory. They returned, stronger and smarter. Eventually, they toppled the mighty Aztec Empire. Can you imagine being there? The stakes were high, and the future of empires was at risk.
By the 19th century, Spain's reach was amazing. Can you believe it? It covered more than 5 million square miles. Spain had lands from California down to Argentina in the Americas. It even reached the Philippines in Asia and pieces of northern Africa. They controlled so many places. It's quite a change from the small land they had in the Iberian Peninsula to being all over the map.
Yes, it's quite a journey. But let's take a step back in time to see how it all started. Back in the 15th century, Spain wasn't even a single country. It was divided into many smaller kingdoms. The most important of them were Castile and Aragon. They were Christian kingdoms, fighting over land and power. This was long before Spain's golden age, and they had many challenges to face.
Let's talk about an important moment in Spanish history. After the struggles and wars in the Middle Ages, Spain began to change. One big event was the marriage of Queen Isabella of Castile and King Ferdinand of Aragon in 1469. This was a special union because it combined two powerful kingdoms. They both wanted to join their lands and power. Their marriage was more than just love. It was about uniting regions that were often in conflict.
Yes, their marriage was key to creating a stronger, united Spanish kingdom. Before this, Castile and Aragon were rivals, but also allies against enemies. With their kingdoms joined, Isabella and Ferdinand helped Spain become more stable. This unity was important because they still had to reclaim lands from the Moors, who ruled parts of the Iberian Peninsula for centuries. The Catholic monarchs, as they were called, focused on completing the Reconquista to Christianize their territories.
They faced strong resistance, but their determination paid off. In 1492, they captured Granada, the last Muslim kingdom in Spain. It was a big victory and marked the end of Muslim rule on the peninsula. This victory was not just about gaining land. It was also about strengthening their role as defenders of Christianity in Europe. With the Reconquista complete, Isabella and Ferdinand could now look outward, thinking about overseas expansion.
The capture of Granada changed everything. It opened new possibilities for Spain to explore and expand beyond its borders. The end of Muslim rule meant more focus on other things, like exploration and trade. The Catholic monarchs wanted to grow their economy and influence. They started thinking about the seas as well. Their unified Spain was ready for bigger adventures, looking beyond borders to explore new worlds and opportunities.
Before Spain became a great power, let's talk about Portugal, their neighbor. In the 15th century, Portugal was very active. They wanted to find a sea route to the East Indies. You see, in those times, spices were very precious, and people wanted them a lot. Portugal thought, why not find a quicker route by sea? This idea brought them to explore much of the Atlantic Ocean and the coast of Africa.
Absolutely, that drive for exploration made Portugal the leader in sea routes back then. But then came a big surprise. A man called Christopher Columbus went to Spain with an idea. Instead of going around Africa to reach the east, why not sail west? Columbus thought the earth was round, so he believed he could reach Asia by traveling westward. His idea was new and bold, because nobody was quite sure about what lay on the other side of the Atlantic.
It's really fascinating how Columbus's proposal turned everything upside down. Initially, he asked Portugal for support, but they said no. Luckily for him, Spain was eager to find their own path to riches and took interest in his plan. This was especially appealing after seeing Portugal's success. The rulers of Spain, Isabella and Ferdinand, decided to give Columbus a chance, so they financed his journey, hoping he would find a new way or even new lands.
Sure, they had nothing to lose. If Columbus found a new path, Spain could become rich and powerful too. Imagine their excitement when Columbus set sail in hopes of discovering unknown lands. Spain was ready to take its place on the world stage, following the footsteps of Portugal. This started a big race to see which country could become the wealthiest through trading and exploring.
In 1492, Columbus set sail across the vast Atlantic Ocean with 3 ships. It was a big risk, but Spain was eager for new trade routes. After more than 2 months at sea, they finally reached land on October 12th. Columbus named this new land San Salvador, thinking he had arrived in Asia. This was a groundbreaking moment, as it marked the discovery of lands unknown to Europe, which Columbus believed were the East Indies. It was truly a historic event.
When Columbus returned to Spain, he brought exciting news of his discovery. The Spanish rulers, Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand, were thrilled. They welcomed Columbus as a hero. This encouraged them to fund even more voyages. Columbus's discovery meant possible riches from new lands, which was very tempting. So Spain quickly organized more expeditions to explore these areas. This was the beginning of Spain's great adventures across the Atlantic, seeking new worlds.
The second voyage was even bigger than the first. Columbus's fleet had 17 ships this time. They aimed to explore and establish Spain's presence in the New World. On this journey, they discovered more islands in the Caribbean. The journey was filled with excitement and a bit of surprise. This time, Spain was no longer just looking for a new route to Asia. They realized the lands Columbus had found were worth exploring further.
With each voyage, Columbus and his men learned more about the islands and the people living there. The locals were curious about these newcomers. Columbus's adventures opened the door for Spain to establish settlements. This was a key step for Spain, as their influence began to grow in these newly found lands. It was a time of hope and ambition for Spain, marking the early days of what would become a vast empire.
So, let's talk about something that changed the world. In 1494, Spain and Portugal signed the Treaty of Tordesillas. This treaty was very important. It divided the new lands found across the oceans into 2 parts. Spain got the rights over most of the Americas, while Portugal took parts of Africa and Asia. This made sure both countries had clear areas where they could explore and trade.
Yeah, this treaty was really significant. It helped prevent any major fights between Spain and Portugal over these new lands. Imagine how hard it must have been to divide something so big on a map without really knowing what was out there. It also gave them a solid plan to start building their own empires. The Pope in Rome actually helped in making this agreement, thinking it would keep peace between the 2 countries during their explorations.
Moving on, after the treaty, Spain wasted no time. They set up the first permanent settlement called Santo Domingo on the island of Hispaniola. This was done by Christopher Columbus's brother, Bartholomew, in 1496. Santo Domingo became a vital hub for the Spanish, laying the foundation for further explorations and conquests. It was a strategic spot for controlling the Caribbean and also for launching new expeditions to other lands.
Absolutely, Santo Domingo turned into the heart of Spanish power in the Americas. It was the perfect base for further exploration and settling in new areas. The first settlers brought more people, tools, and animals from Spain to start new lives in this emerging world. This settlement was not just important for Spain. It became a symbol of how far-reaching these explorations would be, and marked the beginning of many more Spanish cities in the Americas.
After the Treaty of Tordesillas and the establishment of Santo Domingo, let's dive into one of the most striking chapters of history: the conquest of the Aztec Empire. Hernán Cortés played a key role here. You see, he didn't just rely on his men. Cortés understood the power of alliances. On his way to Tenochtitlan, he gathered native allies like the Tlaxcalans, who had suffered under Aztec rule. The internal strife among these native groups proved advantageous for Cortés and his quest.
Yes, indeed. This internal division helped the Spanish, but there were other factors too. When they reached Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, the city was a marvel. Built on a lake, it seemed almost magical. But the Spaniards brought more than soldiers and weapons. They unknowingly carried diseases like smallpox. These diseases swept through the population, causing devastating losses and weakening the Aztec society. This played an immense role in the eventual Spanish victory.
After a fierce siege that lasted more than 2 months, the mighty Aztec city of Tenochtitlan fell in 1521. This event marked the end of the Aztec Empire. Cortés, with his native allies, reshaped the city into Mexico City. It became the center of Spanish rule in the region. This transformation was a significant chapter in the expansion of Spanish influence across the Americas. It shows how quickly the world was changing under Spanish rule during this period.
Absolutely. Mexico City's establishment symbolized a new era for the Spanish in the Americas. The fall of the Aztec Empire showed not only the might of the Spanish military strategies, but also how European diseases could alter the course of history so dramatically. This victory encouraged Spain to push further into other parts of the Americas, expanding their territories and influence. The story of Tenochtitlan reminds us of the complex interactions between different peoples and how these shaped the world we know today. The events we talked about changed not only Spain, but the world. They left a mark that we can still see today in many cultures and languages. History shows us how actions from the past shape the present. We hope you liked our journey through time. If you want more adventures like this, please like and subscribe. We look forward to sharing more stories with you.